What exactly is driving the leadership crisis within AUTON?
All right. So now, first of all, the leadership crisis within AUTON, it starts from the national, right, down to the state. Some states are affected, some states are not affected. Now, with respect to the national, let me start from the national first. With respect to the national, there was once a president, the former president that we had by name Adedamola Adeniran, who was the president, the first president of AUTON, and resigned sometime last year. He resigned and his resignation was received. Paul, I've sent you those documents. You have all those documents.
Yes, I've seen them.
So his resignation was received, and a new deputy too. In fact, on the wake of his resignation, there are two deputy presidents in the union. The deputy one, Comrade AUATON, is CU and has been recognized as well acting president, and suddenly you wake up from sleep and say, oh no, that decision was taken hastily or whatever reason, and suddenly you want him out and you want to come back. That is not constitutional. So what happens is that if you really want to become the president again, because it's just his first tenure, he should wait for an NDC where he can contest. If he's that popular, he waits for NDC and contests to become the president for the second time. If he's popular, of course he'll be voted. But it becomes a problem when you feel because you have been there, why shouldn't it be you? It's you or no other person. It becomes a problem. It's an issue that the ministry, I think I also sent you the MOU, the ministry and NLC and RUT, but a faction that is operating on illegality. She comes up with events, she drafts the budget, she spends the budget as approved by the chairman. There was no iota of transparency, and this has been ongoing. And I have had, and then the zone realized that, Comrade Lawrencia is not supporting Damola's illegality, while the zone was supporting Damola. So the zone decided to play a fast one. I took the matter up to the national. The national factional had bias with Damola. So basically it was more of a, prior to my going to court, the State Executive Council, after so much pressure and demand and the refusal of these individuals, backed up by some members of the State Administrative Council then, they refused to tender reports. They had them removed. So they have been removed and suspended indefinitely from office by the action of the State Executive Council as ratified by the CWC under the leadership of acting President Comrade Nosa Aibonan. It's also worthy of note that Rivers State and relevant bodies, so they do not represent the union as at now. I've also tendered all that evidence. You are aware that NLC in Rivers State has de-recognized Amos Omori. So that's where we stand right now in AUTON crisis.
Okay, but how do you respond to claims that there's a suspension against you?
Well, the thing now is this. Who is suspending who? First of all, the matter is in court, and the national president wrote debunking that suspension letter. And guess what? The NLC officially de-recognized Omori as a result of that action. So what does that tell you? You see, when issues of legality and leadership comes into play, you cannot twist the concept that it is impersonation and actions will be taken against that person legally to the fullest extent of the law.
Now, because of time, because you came in a bit later and we just have to see how many of these issues we can be able to talk about. Now, how bad currently, let's focus on the ride-hailing app drivers now.
Very important.
How bad is the current situation between the drivers and ride-hailing platforms in Nigeria now, or in Rivers State? Let me focus on your jurisdiction.
Yes, Rivers State.
Which is Rivers State. How bad is the relation?
An understatement. Saying it's bad is putting it very, very modestly.
Yeah.
Right? It is, I wouldn't want to say strong is done by the government. Right? Now, the drivers, the app companies have been very tyrannical, very dictatorial, and wicked, if I may even use that, app companies severally. Right? Drivers have reported there is a channel of communication, by the way. Drivers have written. Several reports have gone on, and these app companies times. You're in River State, you are aware of it. We have protested countless times. We have engaged government way, because when we talk about the drivers and the app companies, the riders are also part of it, because they are caught in the middle of this crisis. So you have the riders, the app companies, because they are being charged more than what appears on the app.
But for me right now, what I want to understand first is, what are the major complaints? Because I'm trying to see how
these are very, very poor.
Okay.
The prices do not reflect the current economic rate. 150 and above, depending on where you buy. And how is it possible that we, the drivers, are still driving, doing the transportation business with a price that was pegged at when fuel was around 500 naira? That is very unrealistic. It doesn't even make sense at the end of the day. And we have requested severally for upward price review to match the current economic reality. First of all, let me even make it known that drivers did not wake up one day and decided to start charging above the app. There were little protests that drivers were doing at that time. First of all, it started with pushing for offline trips, right? Some will go for offline, and then the issue of insecurity.
I'll be coming to that one later, yeah.
The issue of insecurity came up. Drivers decided to go back online, but then switch off their ACs, because they believed that if they switch off the AC, probably they will conserve fuel. That wasn't helping as well. They now decided, okay, we are going to start discussing price. So you want me to go on a trip, you will go on a price that selling business started in River State. These vehicles were more like executive rights. They were more like executive rights. There was this pizzazz that comes with booking and going on an e-hailing, right? But now you find out that these vehicles are now competing with the regular kabu on the road, because drivers are unable to even make profits, buy spare parts of their vehicle, maintain, buy fuel, service the vehicles. For most drivers, they are on remittance. Others are on hire purchase. Some pay 30,000 weekly. Others pay 50, 80 weekly, depending on whether you're on hire purchase and on remittance. How do you do that? Fix your car, buy fuel, service it, and also pay your multiple taxation that these app companies take from you, 30% commission on every single trip. And at the end of the day, you have little or nothing to go back home with. That's the current reality.
Now, like I said, because of time, now for negotiations with these ride-hailing companies, what has been the result of your negotiation? Because I understand that you have met with them severally, or you have not met with them. Have you met with them at any point?
Now, what's going on is that they have refused to meet.
Yeah.
So
not keeping to the rules. That's one.
All right.
I want to ask you two questions at the same time. The second question is, when it comes to these apps and their terms and conditions, if the terms and condition of a particular ride-hailing app doesn't work for the drivers, is it not better for the driver to log off or sign out of that app and seek another, instead of trying to do other things like running offline or taking passenger from there? So how can you try to answer these two questions? Because we have only 2 minutes or 3 minutes to go.
First of all, let me start with the first.
Yeah.
You mentioned that riders are complaining that drivers going offline is cheating the app.
Yes.
Let me state it categorically here that if anybody is being cheated, it's the drivers, not the app companies.
Why do you say so?
Because the app companies collect, let me use both, passengers on the same amount of money. Monies they claim that is for tax, but we have not received any information or any form of receipt with regards to that regards. And also, like I said earlier, have been running the pricing based on the former fuel price, which is like there have been over 200 or 250% increment. Every single sector in this country has increased their prices down to KK drivers. However, the e-hailing drivers are still suffering under an old price. So if anybody is being cheated here, the drivers are being cheated, and the state of their vehicles is an evidence to that effect. Now, moving forward with regards to drivers, going offline, we have the union have engaged in massive orientation to make drivers understand you go offline at your own risk. Right now, I'm not even going to look at offline from making money, right? And avoiding that 30% commission. I truly do not have sympathies for these app companies for now. But what I am looking at is the risk involved in offline. Because any trip you go offline, and if something goes wrong, you cannot defend yourself out of it. There have been cases. There was a member, one of our drivers, that actually went to prison, and someone saw him. He came out. He stayed in prison for 2 years. And interestingly, that trip was actually online, right? But the app company did not come out to defend him when he needed the app company, basically because he carried riders that had drugs on them. And that was just what happened. And next thing he saw himself, he was in prison. Now, there have been cases where drivers, crimes are even committed on active trip, and the union was able to trace the path and insist that the trip must be started before they move. But then you have a lot of riders who are quite careless. They will just enter and be pressing their phone, and then the next thing is, I'm here. Why didn't you do that? Then your second question was,
I don't have time again.
You don't
That's
have
the problem.
All right. I wish we had more time, because there is a lot to talk about.
Conversation again, but I just hope that this issue will be resolved between both sides. Lawrencia, Chioma, thank you for joining me on this segment.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure having you.
Yeah. So that's the show for this week. We'll be back again next week, Monday.